Yesterday, purely by chance, I discovered that the first two Jane Mysteries films are now on my five in the UK. I was exceptionally happy about that. I jumped to watch the first film. I've been desperate to see this since the series was probably even before it came out, since it was announced. And I'm pleased to say it really did deliver. There won't be any spoilers in here. I'm not going to give away the mystery. I won't talk about ultimately how the case was resolved or anything like that. The Jane Mysteries Inheritance Lost is the first Jane Mysteries film from Hallmark. This was released in 2023. It's directed by Marco Deufemia and it's written by Neale Kimmel based on the book by K.K. Beck, and we have a cast including the wonderful Jodie Sweetin as Jane de Silva. Big Jodie Sweetin fan, was very, very excited about this series, and I hadn't heard that it was coming to the UK anytime soon, so I was really desperate to jump in with this one. And I had no idea what it was about. I kind of hadn't looked too much into it, and I have to say, it works. There's maybe one aspect that's not the most believable, but everything else about this makes sense. And I have to say, massive credit for the pacing, and I will explain what I mean by this in a moment. Jane de Silva is a singer, and she inherits a detective agency, this non-profit detective agency, who help people who are otherwise unable to find help. And having inherited this agency, Jane takes on this case where this young girl asks to help her unravel the mystery surrounding the death of her mother. And this has something to do with, I was so excited, it has something to do with an MLM. I watch a lot of anti-MLM content online. The fact that they were kind of digging a little into this made me so excited, and it was just, the narrative is brilliant. I won't say what happened to this girl's mother or who the suspects are or anything like that, but I will say I enjoyed the journey. I had a lot of fun trying to work things out. I think the narrative was well written. The pacing of the mystery aspect was really great, and in general, the whole inheritance lost aspect, that part of the narrative, I really enjoyed. I think there was a lot of emotion behind it. I was very keen to get the answers. I didn't care what the truth was, by which I mean I wasn't hoping it would have been this person's fault or it happened because of this. I wasn't too bothered what direction it was going to go in, as long as it was believable. But I did want answers for the young girl. She had dreams of going off to the Juilliard, and obviously she's lost her mother. She's lost the inheritance, hence the title. And I think the emotions were very strong there, and it really drove the narrative forward. But at the same time, the specifics of the mystery also carried the story forward. So there was a lot going on there, but not too much. It never felt too tangled or too chaotic, and the mystery aspect was really well handled. The other thing that I liked is that we find out that Jane has inherited this agency within 10 minutes. I think it was under 10 minutes we get to that point of the narrative. And I really have a lot of praise for this. Sometimes, not all of the time, but sometimes with Hallmark's mystery series, especially when they know they're going to be doing multiple films, they kind of take a long time in the first film to set things up, establish the characters, and it's kind of understandable because if they're going to be doing multiple films, we really need to get to know the characters early on so we can then spend more time on the films themselves or the mysteries themselves. But within 10 minutes, under 10 minutes, Jane had inherited this non-profit detective agency. Massive credit for not dragging it out. They got to the point quickly, and I love it. On the flip side, Jane knew a little bit too much about how to go about investigating this mystery. She had just inherited this agency, and all of a sudden, she's this brilliant detective who knows all of the right questions to ask. And that's not to say she's not working with authorities and things, and that she's not the only person looking into this, but I feel like maybe that was the bit that was a little unbelievable. Whereas, for example, just to pick two of my other favourites, we have Aurora Teagarden, who was a big true crime fan, so she already had a mind for this kind of thing. With Garage Sale Mysteries, a lot of those stories revolved around antiques that the protagonist had in her store, so there was a level of expertise there. With Jane, it was a little harder to buy into her character and the role her character played. And it's not that I didn't fully believe it, but it definitely took a little bit longer to buy into that part of the narrative. Obviously, that's not going to be an issue going forward. So that was my only kind of initial small, teeny tiny stumbling block. Everything else, absolutely fantastic. I really like the character of Jen. She's really likable, which was kind of essential for this series. So that worked well. Jodie Sweetin gave an absolutely fantastic performance, and I cannot wait to watch the next one. Really, really excited for it. I think there are 4 or 5 in total, don't quote me, but there are a few others, and I really hope that they go onto my 5 as soon as possible or anywhere else, because at least based on Inheritance Lost, the Jane Mysteries seems like a very well written series. This film certainly was very well done, and also the costumes are absolutely stunning. Visually, it's a very satisfying film, and there isn't anything about this that didn't work, other than maybe Jane's detective focus taking, well, a couple of seconds longer than I'd like to get used to, but in general, not a big deal. The Jane Mysteries Inheritance Lost is a brilliant first film in the series, and I cannot wait to watch the next one.